was going, just random thoughts just going through my head, and I figured I'd record it because I can't sit and write it while I'm driving. And I got a camera set up, so what the heck. Here's a thought. An amateur radio, every piece of equipment we have to have spectrum clean, which means it's not supposed to transmit on other, where you want it to transmit is where you want it to transmit, right? Or where it's supposed to. So if I'm transmitting on frequency A, I should not be transmitting as well on C, D, and E, or whatever. Basic. So you have that. Another thing is, especially in the States, they require amateur radios to actually submit a report. So you, as an amateur radio operator, if you have a base station, especially because portable, everything's going to be different every time. But if you have a base station, like so, it's set up at your house, you're supposed to do a calculation of where your antenna is, where you're sitting. So basically, where people are going to be when you're transmitting, the distance, the amount of power you're putting out, and all that stuff to make sure that you're not basically radiating yourself while you're transmitting. Okay, so you got that. So now you got all these regulations on amateur radio, and I'm not knocking that. A lot of that kind of makes sense. Depends on the power you're putting out, of course, because sometimes you're not putting enough power out to radiate a nickel. Anyways, having said all that, I just drove by a couple minutes ago. I just drove by an EV, a Tesla. And everybody knows how much I dislike Tesla. EVs are bad enough, but Tesla's just puts it over that a little bit more. Anyways, that aside, I drove by an EV, and that EV, just driving by it, interfered with my amateur radio and my 11 meters, because I was monitoring the CB as well. And that Tesla was transmitting whatever so bad that it interfered on my frequencies and they're totally different. The VHF, UHF, so the local one, that is one frequency. The 11 meters is a totally different, way out of the way frequency. So for that to be interfering on both, pretty bad. So here's my thought. It's doing that on the outside vehicle away. I'm probably a good at least 6-7 feet away from it when I drove by it, I guess, depending on lanes, or we were in lanes or whatever. So we were that far away from each other. Now that has to be affecting the people inside, because there's also inside, you got your Bluetooth and all that other crap going on the inside as well, because that inside of the car doesn't protect you from what's going on the outside. It really doesn't. It'll dampen it a little bit depending on where it's going and coming from, but it's not going to. Your cell phone works in your car, so there you go. So you're sitting in a vehicle, and I'm not saying that gas and diesel don't do this, but they don't do it nearly as bad as what this did, because I was, like I said, I've been driving by lots of vehicles and you haven't heard any radio go nuts. It's only when I pass EVs. And maybe it's not every one of them, I don't know, I don't pay attention that closely. This just happened to be the day I paid attention. So you're inside an EV, you have all that stuff transmitting and receiving, so it's sending signals in and out, in and out, in and out. The antennas are wherever they are in that vehicle. Are you not cooking yourself? They say that's why we have to do the calculations of where our antenna is and where we sit to transmit, and so we don't cook ourselves, basically. I'm breaking it down real simple. I'm not going into technical crap, but it's basically they're saying they don't want you to cook yourself, so they want you to know safe distance. So if I'm supposed to have a safe distance from my antennas as an amateur radio operator, and an EV driving by it is emitting that bad that it affects radios in the vehicle next to it, What's that say about what it's doing to the poor person inside driving? Right? I mean, they say that transmitting in a vehicle, like transmitting too close to your antenna and too much power and all that stuff, can cause cancer and everything else. So you're sitting in a vehicle that's basically cooking you from the inside out. I mean, it seems reasonable to me. And don't say they got shielding this and shielding that. Every electronic out there, every company out there is looking to save a buck. And you can't tell me every piece of electronics, because I know they aren't. They're not shielded like they should be, and they're not transmitting as pure as they're supposed to be. And I'm not saying my radio equipment is either. What I'm saying is that they want people to drive in vehicles that are basically radiating enough crap to affect the vehicle beside it. So you're in that vehicle in amongst all that crap. Now, in Europe, and I think Germany, over there anyways, they want to do highways, and I think the states want to do it, or they've done it, I can't remember. They want to do highways that charge your vehicle as you drive. Cool concept. Except, what is that radiating? What is that What is that radiating? What is that dumping out that people are sitting in amongst? Because you're not shielded from it. You're not. No vehicle is a complete cage. So you're going to be affected by everything around you like that. Let alone, I mean, where are they going to get the power? Where are they going to, who's going to pay for all that? Yeah, you are, we are. So, yeah, no, that's not a smart idea. But, because, I mean, it's basically, yeah, won't go into that. But, everything about the EV is basically cooking you from the inside out. Do you really want that? I'm not going to go into how they produce the crap and all that stuff. I'm just thinking about the health effects that they're not mentioning. I really hope you haven't been blinded this whole time. I just looked over. That's pretty bright there. Well. So anyways, that is my food for thought. I'm just curious because I'd like to know long-term effects. And I mean, they don't know it because they haven't had them around long enough. But they'll tell you they're safe. Right? Because they want you to drive them. So they'll tell you they're safe. And, it'll be 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, down the line when they, guess what? This wasn't such a good idea. Anyways, I just thought I'd say hi and rant a little bit about that EV because that annoyed me. But I had to turn my radios down because that EV was so dirty. Spectrumly, whatever. So, anyways, there's a whole bunch of ways around that, and I know there's other, but the fact is you're in a vehicle that's cooking you from the inside out. So, and they don't seem to care about that, but they care about the guy pumping out 5 watts or 100 watts out to his antenna outside of his house. And it doesn't make sense. It just does not compute. Have a great day. Cheers. God bless.